So I hope you're all strapped in and have one of the beverages with you to get through next 30, 40 minutes, right? So in this webinar today, we are mainly going to talk about recruiting automation. Now, this is a topic of slightly controversial and generates a lot of interest regularly when I talk to customers and other players in the ecosystem, right? So I'm going to give you a little bit of idea about what Recruiterflow has helped our customers automate over last 1 year, right? So we have saved our users just about 1,400 days. That is, 24 hours into 1,400 hours saved for our users in last 1 year. Our Chrome extension has been used to source more than 1 million profiles, which is, it's probably the most frequently used feature of Recruiterflow. Using Recruiterflow's email sequences or campaigns, whatever you like to call them, our users have sent more than 900,000 emails in last 1 year, and more than 300,000 actions automated via recipes. Now, if you have not experienced features like campaigns and recipes, and some of these numbers are not making sense to you, don't worry. This is what we are going to get into, in the later half of the webinar. Right. So, when you are embarking on your automation journey, the first thing that you should decide is what you should automate and what you should not automate, right? So, and there is endless debate around this, especially with artificial intelligence and new technologies doing certain things and claiming to do certain things, but actually not doing them. The market is, there is just a lot of noise and a lot of information for you to process, right? So, in our opinion, everything that is transactional should be and can be automated very easily, right? So, for example, to give a very, very simple example, right? So, a candidate, you have posted your jobs on, let's say LinkedIn or your careers page, many of these platforms, and somebody applies, you should automatically send them a thank you for applying email. Or you disqualify somebody from the early parts of your recruiting process, you should probably send them an automated, thanks, but no thanks email. I don't think there is much debate over there. But apart from that, do you use automation to enhance candidate experience, and at what point of time does it, it crosses the line of delivering the better candidate experience to just being a little bit annoying or really, really inaccurate, right? So a very simple rule of thumb that I like to follow is that if you can train a 12-year-old to do something, it can be automated. If you can't, then it shouldn't be automated, right? So for example, if you are sourcing for a particular job, which candidate that you should reach out to, up to a certain extent, it can be automated, but with very heavy human involvement, right? So you should always stay involved and making sure that you're reaching out to the right candidates and not and not affecting your brand negatively by reaching out to candidates who are not really part of your target, right? So that is something that we firmly believe should be done. So which is the screening or determining whether a candidate is a good fit or not is a very, very human thing. And that's where your experience as a recruiter comes in, right? So you look at a profile and, you make a judgment call whether this person is fit and you should reach out to them or not, right? So delegating that to a machine is extremely error prone, right? So that's something that should not be automated. But on the other hand, reaching out to these candidates definitely can be automated, right? So it needs to be personalized. It needs to be you need to make sure that you're reaching out to the right person and you're delivering value, or you're offering some value to the person that you're reaching out to. But outreach can certainly be automated, and that is something that we will be looking at in our webinar today. Right, so there we have it. So I'm going to go into Recruiterflow right now and talk about some of the automations that you can do, also some of the very creative automations that our customers have deployed. And for those who are joining in recently, on the right-hand side, you will find a Q&A section. Please, any questions that you might have, please ask us over there, and we will make sure that we answer those at the end of our presentation. All right, let's dive in. Okay, so first, let's take a look at Recruiterflow. So there are two things that I want to check out, right? So the first is the outreach automation, email sequences, campaigns. It goes with many different names. And it can be used to automate your outreach both for clients as well as candidates. I'm first going to take a look at a sequence that I have prepared over here, which is built for candidates, right? So here I have, I'm sorry, this is built for clients. So here it's a very simple cold email that's going out to your clients. You find them on LinkedIn, you find them on a variety of different places, and you want to reach out to them. You want to have your subject line personalized, right? So it helps you do two things. First, it helps you avoid spam triggers, right? So if you are sending out a large volume of emails with the same subject, the spidey sense of the spam filters tingles over there, right? So you want to, as much as possible, you want to have your subject line a little bit personalized, so that you're not sending the same emails with the same subject line over and over, day after day, right? So that's first. So you can do that. It's a very simple subject line here. Recruiterflow is the agency that's trying to get in touch with one of the clients, and it's very straightforward. We have the email templates that you can use. We have some amazing email templates on our blog, as well as definitely reach out to our team if you need some ideas in terms of writing cold emails. So you can have the first email sent out, right? So it's very straightforward. Like, you drop somebody into a campaign, the first email goes out at 11 a.m. If you don't get response, you can tell the system that, hey, if I don't get a response, wait for 3 days and follow up at 1:30 p.m., right? So there are multiple different things that you can configure over here, right? So the first thing is whether you want to send out the second touch point in case you didn't get a response to the first one, as a response to the first one, or in the same thread as the first one, or as a completely independent email. In 9 cases out of 10, I would recommend sending it out as a thread to the, or as a response to the first one. But then there are certain instances where you can just start an independent thread. And similarly, you have touch point 3. So how campaigns fundamentally work is that you define your touch points, as many as you want. You can go up to 50 touch points, and you can send out the first email. You don't get a response, wait for X number of days, send out the second email, and so on and so forth. And Recruiterflow will automatically detect any responses that came through and will stop the campaign, and you take over the conversation yourself, right? So there are, and once you have your outreach going, you can have all your reporting, right? So we do open tracking, which is, so you can track, this is a dummy account, so don't really have any data, but you can track how many people you're reaching out to, what's your open rate, what's your response rate, what's your bounce rate. So once you have your outreach going, it's of critical importance that you keep experimenting with your outreach strategy, with your messaging, and keep getting better and better at it. And you can't improve something unless you can measure it. So you get all your metrics in terms of your campaigns right over here. So there we have it. So this is the campaigns for a campaign for clients, and similarly, you can have a campaign for reaching out to candidates. Right. So that's the campaigns part, and now I want to move to the recipes bit. So recipes are essentially a rule engine that allows you to tell Recruiterflow that, hey, if this happens, do that, right? So if you can imagine your recruiting process as an assembly line, there are certain parts of that assembly line process that you can automate using recipes, right? So that's how you should be looking at the recipes, and it's not a feature which is we generally see our users get comfortable with recipes and do some amazing stuff with it 2-3 months into using Recruiterflow. The right framework to think about it is that if there is anything that I'm doing repetitively, or if I'm using email templates to do something repeatedly, there is a good chance that you can just use recipes to automate that, right? So that's your lowest hanging fruit in terms of what you can automate using recipes. And once you've done that, you can take a much closer look at your recruiting process, identify gaps that you want to plug, and see how recipes can help you. And there are a couple of examples that we are going to go through in the near the end of the webinar. So let's take a very, very straightforward example that I already talked about, something that should definitely be automated for a great candidate experience, and that is, if a candidate applies, send them, thanks for applying email. So a recipe has 3 main components: triggers, filters, and actions, right? So you can create a trigger that a candidate has applied. This is applicable to all jobs. You can, each recipe, you can decide whether it runs only on the jobs where I am the recruiter, or only on certain specific jobs that you can just mention. For now, this is a universal recipe. It's going to apply to each and every candidate who's applying into our job advertisements. So I can just say, if a candidate applies, automatically action is sending an email. So there are a bunch of different actions that are available to you, and We'll go through some of them during this presentation, but the most commonly used one is send email, right? So here what I've done is that I have created this trigger that, hey, if this happens, do that, which is the action. Let's send an email to the candidate, and this is the body of the email, right? And again, you can personalize the subject line as well. You can, have fields put in the subject line as well. So it's a very straightforward recipe that sends out a thank you email every time a candidate applies. All right. So this is the most commonly used recipe. If you don't want this recipe to be sent out from your own email, if you're creating this recipe, it will be by default be sent from your own email. But if you'd rather have, like careers at yourdomain.com, you can add careers at yourdomain.com as a user free of cost. You can just contact support to get it done for you, right? So you can do that. Of course, so there is another email which automatically goes out to the candidate on behalf of Recruiterflow. You can also ask our support team to stop that automated application email that goes out from Recruiterflow on behalf of you to the candidate, and just have that email sent out from your side. All right, so that's thanks for applying. Let's create another recipe, which is, so if you are advertising your job, generally speaking, 90%, in fact, our data suggests even higher number of candidates are just going to be not qualified for the role and are just going to get disqualified right on the applied stage. And you want to send out a polite thanks but no thanks email to those candidates, and I'm going to build that recipe live over here, right? So let's just call this disqualification email recipe. I think I butchered the spelling, but that's okay. So trigger, there is a bunch of other triggers, like I'm going to say if a candidate gets disqualified. Again, if you want to send this recipe from your generic email ID like careers or jobs @ you can definitely do that. One thing with this is that you don't want this recipe to go out if the candidate has already had a conversation with you or they've progressed in the pipeline, right? So you don't want to send them a templated email. You want to be a bit more personalized. You want to, create that kind of an experience for your candidates. So I'm going to say, okay, this recipe runs only if the candidate was disqualified from the applied stage. And the action is, again, send email to the candidate saying, your application status. I'm going to butcher spellings for now. And here I can just say, I'm going to have a very short and sweet message. Thanks for applying, but doesn't look like a good fit. Of course, you can be much more elaborate and much more polite, I guess, in your communication. But for the interest of speed, I'm just going to keep this short. But now, imagine a scenario where a candidate has just applied and you look at their resume within 30 minutes and you disqualify the candidate. You probably don't want to send out that email right away. So what you can do is you can delay that email by a day. So if you disqualify somebody today, the rejection email goes out tomorrow, right? So you can insert delays of when an action gets executed in the system, right? So you can do that. Now, let's take a look at another recipe, which is also very, very commonly used. And for the 10% or maybe even lesser fraction of candidates that move from applied to the next stage. For a large chunk of our users, the next stage is generally doing the phone screen with the candidate. And here, what you can do is that I can tell the system that, hey, and this now recipe applies to just my jobs, right? So if there is a large team with 10 different recruiters working on different jobs, I don't want this recipe to run on a job or on a candidate that I have nothing to do with, right? So I'm just going to say that this recipe is applicable just to my jobs. And if you're an account admin, you can set up these recipes for others in your team as well. So you can just say if a candidate moves from applied to phone screen automatically, again, send an email to the candidate saying, you can have your own email template. We have a bunch of different email template documents as well. If you're looking to get any inspiration in getting your email templates set up, do reach out to us. So you can have this email, very simple email that says that I'm impressed with your application. When is a good time to call you? If you use a scheduling tool, something like Calendly or what is it called, Acuity, you can just put your calendar link over here. And just so that we integrate with most of the scheduling tools out there. You can integrate Recruiterflow via Zapier to all of these scheduling tools, right? So if a candidate or a client schedules a call and they answer some questions while scheduling a call, you can have all of that data flowing back into Recruiterflow as well. So there we have it. It's a pretty straightforward email, and it just goes out immediately. So this is also a very, very commonly used automation. Right. So after you've screened the candidate, generally the next thing to do is, if the candidate moves forward, you submit the candidate to the client. And here you can have created this to be a little bit different, right? So again, this is also applicable to just my jobs. So here I can say that if a candidate moves to company submission stage, automatically send an action, which is sending a text message to the candidate saying, hi, first name, Manan from Recruiterflow here, just wanted to let you know. And there are a bunch of different fields that you can use to, personalize this text message as well. So as we talked about earlier, right, you should definitely use automation to deliver a better candidate experience. And the candidate experience across the recruiting process is so broken, and that just the act of keeping candidate in the loop in terms of the entire process itself just enhances that experience multifold, right? So as you can imagine, searching for a new job is a very, very stressful experience, and your job is to make sure that your candidate feels that you are batting on their side. And you just got two hands and 24 hours in a day, right? So a lot of it, just the regular update to your candidates, you can just automate using different kinds of recipes. Another very common thing that I've seen is recruiters sending out education material or interview prep to candidates when they interview with the client, and you can do that as well very easily. You can just say stage move to client interview or whatever the stage is, and it sends out an email to the candidate. Now you can automate submittal emails to your clients as well. Let me show that. So it's again the same thing. If I move candidate in my jobs to submittal, now this time I'm sending out an email to the job contact, which is who the client side hiring manager or hiring managers are, and it's a very straightforward email submittal for whatever the job title that you are recruiting for, and one of the fields that you can use over here is candidate profile link. So with our client portal, your clients can log into Recruiterflow, see the candidates that you submitted, see the evaluation that you've done, see the CV that you have submitted for your client, and they can see all of that on the client portal, and you can put that link in that email going out automatically, right? So you can do that. Very straightforward. There is also another thing called candidate public profile link, which is also something that I see being used very frequently. The benefit of public profile link is that your clients then don't have to log in to Recruiterflow. But the flip side is that they don't get to collaborate with you real time in terms of submitting evaluations, right, exchanging notes with you and things like that, right? So you can, depending on how what kind of experience you want to deliver to your clients, you can pick one of these. Right, there we have it. So that's sending out an email, submittal email to the client, which can also be automated. And another thing that you can do is once the candidate moves from there and everything falls in place, you want to do you want somebody in your team to do a reference check with your of the candidate, right? So what I can do here is that I have created a stage called ref check, and I have created this recipe that, hey, if a candidate moves to the reference check stage, automatically create task for RIA, right? So again, the action is creating a task. Is a task name, there is task node, there is a task type, right? Whether it's a call, email, or a to-do. This is a to-do type. And I'm going to associate this task with the candidate and assign this. There is a bunch of people that I can assign this to. Even this can be dynamic, but I have, generally speaking, this kind of a task is going to be assigned to a specific person. I have just picked Ria as that specific user to whom this task is going to be assigned to. And the ref check is due in 1 week. As soon as the candidate moves to this stage, system is going to send out an reminder email to Ria saying that, hey, you have this task coming up that you're supposed to do ref check for this particular candidate. She can get started on it. And a week later, the task is due. And, once it is done, she can just mark this task as done, right? So you can, again, it's not that creating a task is a mammoth task, but it's you have to remember every time that you move a candidate to reference check to assign a task to somebody in your team, that that mental space can be freed up by just creating simple recipes like this. Okay, now I'm going to do something a little bit more complex, right? So, and that is combining two automation features, which is recipes and campaigns, right? So here I have created this campaign, this recipe that, hey, if I move a candidate to a stage called document collection, I'm just taking this as an example. add the candidate to document collection campaign. It's how this basically is like, some of our customers, especially if you work in healthcare, there is a bunch of documents that you need to create, that you need to collect from your the candidates, and you can automate that very easily using a combination of recipes and campaigns. So I have just done this. If I move a candidate to this stage, just drop them into this campaign. And now let's take a look at the campaigns. So this is what that campaign looks like, right? So as soon as you drop a candidate to document submission stage, this recipe will trigger, which will drop the candidate into this campaign. And now in this campaign, this email goes out saying, hey, first name, these are the 3 documents that we need from you. And this is another use case of candidate public profile link, where you can ask, if you send out this link to your candidates, they can upload documents on this link. So you can just have that link over here that the candidates can see. And you can say that, hey, once you are done, just let me know. If the candidate doesn't do that, you want to follow up, you can do that automatically with campaign. And that's why I created, this is something that, we see a lot of drop off in our customers' funnels, in document submittal stage, where, during the later stage, where you already done so much upfront investment of screening the candidate and all of that. And now just at the time of document submission, the process slows down, or candidate just drops off. And before you realize it, it's already too late, right? So you can automate, your follow-ups for collecting documents as well, right? So, and this is I'm creating document submission again here as just a sample example, and you can definitely do much more, a lot of other kind of different use cases where you are dropping people into a campaign from recipes, and we will take a look at one more of those as well. So yeah, pretty straightforward. The first email goes out. If the candidate doesn't submit the documents, 4 days later, another follow-up. If still no submittal, 7 days later, one more follow-up. So you can have that configured. Let's take a look at an even more interesting example. So another very common thing that we see is you especially if if your bread and butter is going after passive candidates, and you are using email sequences or LinkedIn Recruiter to reach out to candidates and get 15-20 minutes of their time on calendar. There is a significant amount of drop off that happens when a candidate moves. Once a candidate says yes, I'm interested in this role, and from there they just ghost you and never actually schedule a call, right? And this is something that we see across a lot of our accounts, especially in a very competitive, candidate-driven market. You constantly have to be on your toes to and deliver a great experience to actually make that hire, right? So and each candidate is valuable. Each conversation is extremely valuable. So you want to make sure that you are not missing a single one of those, right? So you want to plug as many holes as you can in the funnel. If you are, mainly a headhunting business that's going after passive candidates. So I'm going to create that from scratch, right? So I'm going to create a recipe that says, phone screen campaign. So here I'm going to add a trigger that if I move a candidate to phone screen stage, automatically drop them into a campaign. I'll have to first create the campaign. My bad. Right, so let's just say phone screen scheduling, right? So I'm just going to create this campaign. And I have some of the templates set up. So phone interview, right? So this goes, 0 after 0 days, or rather just send immediately. And so as soon as a candidate gets dropped into the campaign, these emails will go out within 5 minutes. So the first email goes out. It's a very straightforward email. And if I don't get a response, 3 days later, send out this another one at 11 a.m. If I still don't get a response, 2 days later, send out this another one at 5 p.m., right? So and here I'm going to select phone interview 2 template, and here I'm going to select phone interview 3 template. So this email is very simple. This is for you to avoid your scheduling back and forth. You can, if you are using a tool like a scheduling tool, you can put your link over here. So this campaign has been created. Let's just hit save campaign, and I'm going to hit refresh over here. Scheduling screen, Manan, right? So I'm going to add a trigger that a candidate moves to phone screen stage. Again, this is applicable only to my jobs. Drop them into a campaign, which is a phone screen scheduling Manan campaign. So now, you reach out to, so what this does is it creates this scenario. You reach out to a bunch of candidates, and some of them say, yes, I'm interested in having this conversation with you. You move candidate from sourced stage or responded stage to phone screen stage automatically. Now this recipe will trigger and drop candidate to phone screen scheduling campaign. And what that will fundamentally do is it's going to send out this email to the candidate. And a campaign has a setting that, you can stop a campaign if a call is scheduled on your calendar, right? So I'm just going to turn this setting on. And that's it, right? So this is, this works beautifully well if you use a scheduling tool, like Acuity or Calendly. So you essentially, this combination of recipes and campaign helps you minimize the leakage from a candidate saying yes to actually scheduling a call with that candidate, right? So you can do that. This is something that we've seen a few of our customers deploy with great success. And generally speaking, for something like this, we would recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 touch points. You don't want to be overbearing, but you want to make sure that you don't miss a single opportunity of scheduling or having that conversation with your candidates, right? So we have that. Another very common scenario is you reach out to a bunch of candidates, and the way market is right now, a candidate has, they're swimming in, multiple different offers, right? And it's an extremely competitive market out there. A lot of times, a candidate is just going to tell you that, hey, I have, I'm on a vacation, let's connect later, or, I'm waiting on a bonus, so let's connect, next quarter, or whatever it is, right? So, and you want to make sure that you keep these candidates nurtured, right? So if you are in a very candidate driven market, top 10% candidates in your niche, in your market, is your access, your relationship with those, and your ability to recruit them is what is what your clients pay you the big bucks for, right? So you want to make sure that you have a methodology and a playbook in place to keep these candidates engaged. And that is something that you can do with a combination of recipes. So recipes and campaigns as well. So let's first create a very simple one, right? Like so you're reaching out to a candidate says no, that okay, this is not a right time, but the candidate is a fantastic candidate. So you create a reason, a disqualification reason, which is this candidate is super qualified, incredible candidate, we would love to work with them at any point of time when they are ready, and we want to make sure that whenever they are looking for a new role, the first person that they reach out to is you. Then you have Rockstar not interested now as a disqualification reason has been created in my account. You can if you're not familiar, you can do that in your settings section. So I can do this, that hey, if a candidate gets disqualified with this particular reason, create a task. I'm just going to say this is a to-do to follow up with the candidate, associate this task with the candidate, assign this to whoever is the lead owner of the candidate, and maybe do this after a month, right? So there we have it. But if you want to go one step further, let's combine recipes with campaign over here, right? So now let's create another campaign. And I'm going to call this candidate. Again, I keep butchering spellings. Candidate nurture Manan. Right, there we go. Here I have some of these touch points configured in my templates. This goes out after, let's keep this 120 days at 10:30 a.m. Let me remove twin signatures, another touch point. If I don't get a response, choose a template, candidate nurture 2, and another one, let's just say candidate nurture 3. This one goes out 5 days after that, and this one goes out, let's say 8 days after that. And let's just put some different times over here. There we have it. Okay, so let's take this from the top. You reach out to a bunch of candidates. Some of them, great candidates will tell you, hey, just not the right time, maybe later, right? And you want to make sure that you keep these candidates nurtured without, putting a lot of effort, and spending hours and hours of time organizing your tasks and getting them done and things like that. What I can do is I can create a recipe. If a candidate, okay, let me just refresh this. So again, I'm going to add the same trigger, right? If the candidate gets disqualified, and this time I'm just going to apply this to my jobs because I want this to happen just to my candidates and not everybody else's. And disqualification reason is that this recipe will only run if if I disqualify a candidate with this particular reason, which is, rockstar candidate, but not interested right now. Drop them into a campaign, and the campaign is candidate nurture Manan. So what this fundamentally does, I'm just going to say webinar test. So what this fundamentally does is that you disqualify the candidate, you make that judgment call that, okay, this candidate is top 10%, top 20% of the talent pool in my space, in my niche. And I want to make sure that we keep nurturing this person. So that's something that you decide, and after that, system takes care of everything else for you, right? So once you disqualify a candidate with that reason, it will basically trigger this recipe, which means that 100, and this is I put as 120 days. 120 days later, after this has happened, this email will go out, and you can do some wonderful stuff with this, right? So, like, hi candidate, hi first name. Been a while since we last spoke, and I read this article about how Dunder Mifflin is the worst run paper company in the region, and blah blah blah. And it made me think of you, right? So you can have these. You start a conversation not by initiating a transaction, but just letting them know that you are, they are that, that candidate, they are still on your mind, and you would still love to, have a conversation about their career at any point of time. And, just an article, is relevant to your space. You can just have it, linked over here. If the candidate doesn't respond, again, right, like you follow up with them 5 days later at 9:30 a.m. and then another at 8 days later at 5:30 p.m. And so on and so forth. And, if the candidates who don't respond to this email, you can again drop them into another sequence by triggering another recipe. Right? So you can create these playbooks of how you are going to keep your top candidates engaged, have a proper waterfall process that, hey, in the first layer, this is what happens. This is what happens on the second layer. This is what happens on the third layer. Have a year-long nurturing, process that gets executed without a lot of input from you. And you can see some wonderful results in terms of how well you are able to build relationships with your top talent, right? So that's what this is the final combination of recipe and campaign.